Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici. Welcome, my friends. My name is Vincenzo, and welcome to my channel, Fountain Pen Therapy. I thought I'd change it up a little bit rather than just review one pen. I noticed that I just got this Fanmu L7, I believe they refer to it as. Kind of a quirky, a little bit like Majohn V1, a quirky demonstrator pen. And then it occurred to me that I have a few quirky and weird, inexpensive demonstrator pens. And I said, you know what, why don't I put together a video and show my viewers some fun. So I put them all together, and here you have them. We'll take a look at each. We'll do some writing samples, and maybe there'll be one or two that will interest you in there. They've all got their little special features, and they got some great nibs. So please stay tuned. So we're back, folks. Here are the quirky pens that I was talking to you about. And let's look at them one by one. First of all, this is a newly acquired. It's a Fanmu L7, I believe they refer to it as. The quirkiness about it is take a look at this. It's kind of, I guess you would call it a piston filler, but with a sliding mechanism. It's a little bit like Majohn in the sense that you've got to open up the cap. The cap doesn't post. The pen is there, and you know what? It's got a really nice nib, and we'll get to it as soon as possible. You see, it's got some interesting resin, a nice red ring there. Lots of ink fins in there, and it really pulled up that ink real quick. So again, quirky but fun. And you know what? It's nice. It's different. The next one is this one here. I mean, the nib is fabulous. We'll get to it in a second. This is a Fanmu Green Smog. Take a look at that resin. A little bit. I know there's some pen BBS that have this kind of resin, but not even this deep. Really a deep 3D-ish resin. I love this pen. With an interesting, pen stopper or roll stopper, if you were there. And this one is all the others are all, there's a piston filler, and the rest, 2 piston fillers, the rest are eyedroppers. But, they're eyedroppers but this one has a converter. So this one is a cartridge converter filling system. This is a Moonman S5, I believe. Again, what's interesting about this pen is that nib, and we'll get to it in a second. Take a look at that. Isn't that cute? Yeah, absolutely. This is a Moonman M2. Again, very interesting nib. It's got an interesting design. Opens up. There you have it. Lots of ink in there, folks. And these pen all stay fairly wet. They don't dry. So they have they great sealing mechanisms or, design. This is the Moonman C1. I mean, this thing, I think, has been filled for months. And all I had to do is really clean a little bit the barrel because it had just a few dots just for the video, but otherwise, and no heart start. It just started up like as if I had intake yesterday. And this is the controversial, weird, call it whatever you want, the brand new Majohn V1, which some people hate and some people love. I happen to love it. I think it's different. And so what that it isn't traditional. You know what? It's it's a really, really fun looking, I call it the test tube pen, and I think it's a lot of fun. So those are the pens. What I propose we do now is just jump into, I'm not going to go over, a detailed review of each. I think what's interesting about these pens is the writing experience you can get from them. So why don't we jump right in, and we'll take a look at how these things write. Be right back. Okay, we're back for the writing samples. I'm using a Tomoe River, and this is the Sake TP version, 52 grams paper. And let's take a look at how each of these pens what kind of a writing experience it can give you. So this one, by the way, this one I replaced the nib with a Edison 1.4 stub just to give me a thicker line, and I'm really enjoying this. But I haven't used it in a while, so it may hard start, but if it does, you'll forgive it and we'll just move on. Okay, so this is the Majohn. Yeah, it's a little bit dry, but Majohn V1. And it's got the nib, excuse me, the nib on this is a Edison steel number 5 1.4 stub. I forget the ink that I put in here, but as you could see, it gives me some very interesting line variation. It is a little bit dry, especially on the side strokes, and it may need a little bit of an adjustment just to get it flowing again because it hadn't been used in a while. But otherwise, an interesting pen. So that's and probably the one that's writing the worst from the gang here, because I've tested all these before I went on air. So this one is the Moonman, as it was, Moonman C1, and I replaced the nib with a Bach stub, steel stub. So this is the Moonman C1, okay, and the nib on this pen. And that's the fun thing about these pens, is you can replace the nibs. Is a Bach steel number 6 stub, and it's an italic stub as opposed to a cursive. So as you can see, the downstroke gives me plenty of, and it's a real gusher. I mean, this pen just writes absolutely wet, wet, wet. Not a problem whatsoever. So that's the Moonman C1, if you will. Next one on the list is the Moonman M2. So Moonman M2, the nib, it's the original Moonman steel number 5, and this is a medium. Got to tell you, the camera is not giving this nib its due justice, because it is a gusher, and just a light, it brings out that blue ink too lightly. But let me tell you, this nib is smooth, very constant, excellent flow. No problem there, folks. It writes beautifully. So that's the Moonman M2. This is the Moonman S5. And again, what is interesting about this one, believe it or not, first of all, let me just finish here. That's me, sorry. Moonman S5 demo. The nib, I don't know if it's a Moonman or not. I think it is, but it's a Moonman, but it's an oblique number 5 steel nib. And I think it's a fine. But it's a fine stub, and that's the way it writes. I know, because I feel very comfortable writing with this pen. And look at it writes beautifully. I gotta tell you, very, very, very nice. So very interesting nib. Isn't that nice? I think it is. Okay, we got to fit 1, 2, 3, 4. We got to fit 2 pens there on that same page. So I'm going to try to tighten things up. Oh, this is my favorite in the lot. Okay, this is the Fanmu Green Smog. And what is interesting, I'm going to put it all on one line. Actually, no, we can do it this way. The nib is a Knox nib, and it's a number 5. It's steel and broad. This is, I think, the only number 5 broad nib that I have in my collection. And it is absolutely, look, I'm going to try to be, because we've got to fit in the other pen, but look at the gusher it is. It just writes beautifully, just beautifully. I got to tell you, this nib is just a pleasure to write with. Pleasure to write with. Green Smog, Fanmu, great nib. And right out of the box, I didn't change it. That's what it came with at the time that I purchased it. I don't even know if they're still available. And this is the brand new Fanmu L7 that I just bought. So this is the Fanmu. Again, my camera is not picking up this light blue ink, and it's too bad. But Fanmu L7. And what's special about this is that it has a number 5. I think it's a fine to medium, I forget now. And it's a Schmidt nib. And these Schmidt nibs, I got to tell you, even the number 5s are really, really exquisite. So as you could see, look at that. And like I said, the camera is not picking up the dark shading of that ink for some reason. But look at the gusher that it is. I mean, it's got some very nice feedback, and it just follows beautifully. Really, really, really nice pen. There you go. So I thought I'd, have some fun, do something different for once, rather than these little, and some of them can be considered like pocket pens. I think they're a lot of fun. If you've got a little bit of a journal, you're sitting on a picnic, you're writing some poetry, or you're writing your novel on the beach, and you've got your notebook, and you don't want to lose your expensive pens. You pick up one of these demos. They write all the time, first time, every time. They can write thick lines, thin lines. You can put all kinds of inks in them. They've got plenty of ink. You can put, lots of ink in those barrels. I think they're a lot of fun. And that's what fountain pen therapy is all about, is trying to find pens that provide you with a fine writing experience and some fun at the same time. Weird and fun, folks, just like me. Hey, take care. Be good. Subscribe. Any comments, please leave them down in the description, and we will see you next time.